Hey, how's it going, my non-existent viewers? It is TVB, and this is a video that I've honestly been putting off. I've been procrastinating on this for a few months now, and this video I wanted to give like very brief thoughts on all the movies I've seen since August. This past summer, I took a summer class and I was very busy with that, so I wasn't able to go to the movies as often as I usually was. And by the time that class ended, my laptop died, like the RAM needed to get replaced, and it was in the tech center for a few weeks. And during that time frame, I saw The Suicide Squad, Free Guy, and Don't Breathe 2. And then my laptop got fixed. It was working just fine for me for like a few weeks, more or less, and then it died on me again. And I was like, okay, that's it. I can't keep like fixing this laptop, so I got a new one. And since then, I've seen more films like Venom, There Will Be Carnage. I also watched the movie Luca, the Pixar movie, at a friend's house, and Dear Evan Hansen. And of course, No Time to Die, which came out right after my birthday. Tonight, I just wanted to give like my brief thoughts on like seven of these movies, and then like just briefly go into spoilers for No Time to Die and The Suicide Squad, because there's a lot that I want to say about No Time to Die and The Suicide Squad. I just want to talk about that because as of now, that's my favorite movie of 2021. But that'll be saved for the end. So the first the first big chunk of this video is gonna be spoiler free, and let's just dive right into this. I hope by the way, happy Halloween. I know I'm recording this like stupidly late because my sleep schedule is all over the place. Don't even get me started. But I just got back from seeing Dune, the latest film by Denis Villeneuve, who's with this film, like many other films, is put through Hollywood's gulag because of COVID. And I was really excited for this movie last year when New Year started, before lockdowns were put in place. I'm so thrilled I finally got to do this. I really hope this film makes enough of the box office for part two to happen, because I would hate to see Dune be like a failed franchise attempt, because I have not read the Dune novels. I haven't seen the TV series or the 1984 original. I think this is like a remake of sorts, but I just love Denis Villeneuve's direction of how like, he like mixes blockbuster with art house in a weird sense. Like this feels like a very artsy, slow burner film, but the visuals are just so spectacular. Oh my gosh, the action scenes were very well executed. Cinematography, Hans Zimmer's score, my king Hans Zimmer. Oh, I love that guy. And just like when the action's going down, these different planets, the death worms just looked so great, and the characters. You're not going to see too much of Zendaya in this film, for those of you who haven't seen it already. But when she's on screen, like you can't take your eyes off her. Neither is Jason Momoa's character in this film, which is, again, not going to spoilers, but I think it's my favorite character in the entire movie. And yeah, Dune, I really hope it gets like some Oscar nominations, and I really hope this franchise takes off. I'm going to talk about Don't Breathe 2. I think Don't Breathe, way back in 2016, is a contemporary horror classic. And when I saw the trailer for the sequel, I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, oh boy, this is probably gonna be a bad case of like sequelitis. And despite all the bad reviews this film received, I enjoyed Don't Breathe 2. Definitely not as good as the first one, but I think Stephen Lang once again nailed it as this like crazy old blind man, and he's like a fatherly figure to like this girl that he adopts, who then later these criminals like break into their house, and they try to kill him and like take the girl away and stuff like that. And it's extremely violent, and the kills are very creative, and overall I was like sitting there be like, oof, they just did that. That was really crazy. Like, oh, the stuff is going down. It's not like as scary as the first one. Like I said, this sequel is definitely like a step down. I've heard some people make the comparison like Don't Breathe 1 is like the old guy is like the final boss in the first film. And the second film is when you like unlock the boss as like a playable character. That's what it feels like. I can understand that. I hope there's not a third film. I just don't think that's necessary. But for what it's worth, I overall enjoyed myself with Don't Breathe 2. And then later that August, I saw Free Guy. I think it's funny how, like, movies based on video games tend to be complete garbage, while movies, like, inspired from video games tend to be really great. Like Free Guy and Ready Player One and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and other examples. Free Guy is a very heartwarming film with Ryan Reynolds and Laurel Howery, and playing like they're these NPCs that living in a video game, and then Ryan Reynolds' character Guy finds out that he is an NPC. Like this movie is told from the perspective of an NPC, like dealing with real players just trashing his world, and he goes on an adventure to like free the citizens. And it's like Taika Waititi is very charismatic as the villain in this film. Free Guy also has like a cute romantic subplot, and the visuals are really spot on too. And if you guys haven't watched Free Guy yet, I would recommend checking it out. And I also saw Dear Evan Hansen last month. People really don't like this movie, and I can understand a lot of criticisms that it receives. The storytelling is very flawed. It's based on a Broadway musical. I have not seen the Broadway musical where Ben Platt reprises his role as Evan Hansen, and the age gap between like the actor and this like high school character is a lot of like wonky makeup and hairstyling effects in this film, and I understand the criticism that it receives, but I still enjoyed it. Again, not great by any means, but I thought the music was very well put together, and the characters, they can sing their hearts out, and the story was engaging me. Obviously, a lot of it's built off a lie, where like, oh, you and this kid who like committed suicide were friends, and he like goes with the lie, and it's like, oh, is this guy like a sociopath or something? Like, what is his deal? But I think when you're a kid that age, you can understand where he's coming from, especially if you're like one of the the not one of the cool kids. And trust me, I know what that's like. But overall, Dear Evan Hansen, I can understand like people's criticisms, and I'll admit I would probably give this a film like a 6 out of 10 stars. I mean, again, like I said, it's got its issues, but overall, I enjoyed enough to give it a pass. Like I give it a thumbs up. Now, I really want to thank my friend Kenzie for bringing me and a few other friends over to her place, where like her apartment complex has like the sort of like a media center with a lot of different streaming services. So we used like the apartment's Disney Plus account to watch Luca. I'm not too big on streaming services. I don't know. It's just like they're expensive, and like if I'm gonna be sitting in my bedroom like looking at a screen or a TV for hours, I'd rather be playing my Xbox instead of like watching Netflix. But I did get on watching Luca, and I gotta say I had quite a good time with Luca. The animation, like Pixar outdoes their animation with every new film, and just when I thought that their animation couldn't get any more like colorful or detailed, they do. Like Luca's, I don't think this is based on like on a children's book, but this movie looks like something right out of a children's book, and it's so colorful. The characters are super cute, and it's like I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I get like angry or frustrated at myself, I find myself saying "Silenzio, Bruno" when I'm going throughout my day, just going about my daily business. I love how this movie pays like homage to Italian culture. This movie like takes the Italian-ness of its setting up to 11. I hear this film even premiered at an aquarium in Italy, which I think is super cool. And yeah, Luca is very much like a worthy entry to Pixar's like very vast canon. Just like how Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is also a worthy entry to the Marvel canon. I think what I love the most about Shang-Chi was not only the action scenes and likable characters and the story, but like way like 10 years ago, oh my gosh, Thor in 2011 is 10 years old now. That movie as a middle schooler for me was my introduction to Norse mythology, while Shang-Chi as a 23-year-old, or like this film came out before my birthday, but like as like nearing the end of my college career was like my introduction to Chinese mythology. I thought it was so cool how like Shang-Chi and his friend played by Aquafina, they go to like this, oh, forgive me, that's my alarm, I gotta get my laundry. Sorry you guys heard that. But they go to this like mystical like Chinese realm. There's like different creatures from Chinese mythology. Even though you briefly see a kitsune, which is like this multi-tailed fox. That's actually from Japanese myths. But yeah, I loved the whole Chinese setting and how it influences Chinese culture. I was kind of bummed out that like, because from the trailer I thought that like Sean, that's like the name he goes by, and Aquafina were gonna be like a couple, but like in the movie they're just friends. I'm usually bothered by stuff like that when like there's a like potential romance being hinted, but the characters just not turn out not being romantic. But I actually dug it. I think it works for the movie because like male female friendships are very underrepresented in like movies and TV. So it was nice to see him go in the right direction. And I was more excited for this than I was for Black Widow. Oh, I forgot to mention I also saw Black Widow. Jeez, yeah, Black Widow. I don't dislike this movie. I mean, it's decent. I mean, I again Scarlett Johansson. This is probably the last time we're ever gonna see Scarlett Johansson play Black Widow. And in all honesty, I found it kind of underwhelming. Again, not a bad movie. I liked it. I had a good time watching it. Again, decent characters, and it was nice seeing her interactions with her sister and her family. But overall, there's just so much of this film could have been. We've been waiting for a Black Widow movie for so long, and yet it didn't really like deliver as much as I hoped it would. Again, I still liked it. It was still a decent film, like on its own terms. It's fine, but like just thinking about like all the other like the bar that like we've come to set Marvel movies to nowadays, it didn't deliver as much. And you know what? I have mixed expectations for the Eternals, and I am very excited for Spider-Man. The next Spider-Man film coming in December. But yeah, I'm just like not too sure with my feelings towards like the future of the MCU at this point. I'll explain why when I get around to seeing and reviewing the Eternals. And guys, like speaking of Spider-Man, do not like miss a post-credit scene for Venom. Let there be Carnage if you haven't already, or Venom There Will Be Carnage, or whatever this the Venom 2, like Venom versus Carnage. Like if you haven't seen this film already, please stick around for the credits, because there's one hell of a post-credit scene. And in all honesty, I'm not too sure which one I like more. The first Venom that came out back in 2018, or this sequel with Tom Hardy playing Venom once more, and him facing off with Woody Harrelson playing Carnage, as well as like his girlfriend Shriek. The action scenes are very well put together, and my favorite part about Venom is like Eddie Brock's dynamic with the symbiote Venom, and like them just like dissing each other, especially in the start of the movie. It was really funny seeing them it was like bicker back and forth. And also this film has a really neat theme song that like once again Eminem worked on the soundtrack for this movie, but like it's called The Last One Standing. It's a collaboration between a handful of artists, and it was very well put together. I know it doesn't really say much about the movie itself, but they play it in the credits, and I've been listening to it on Spotify for quite a bit lately. And yeah, like I said, guys, I am very excited for the whole future of Venom's character after seeing this film. And like I said, I don't want to like ruin it for you guys. I mean, you guys have probably seen it already, but like the post-credit scene, if you've seen the film, if you stuck around for the credits, you know what I'm talking about, and I'm very psyched. Now, this is where like the spoiler-free section of this video is going to end, because I want to talk about No Time to Die, and then I'm going to talk about The Suicide Squad. And No Time to Die, the last film played by, with Daniel Craig playing James Bond. I just want to discuss the ending for that, and, just like briefly, like a very brief spoiler talk for The Suicide Squad, because, like I said, that's my favorite movie of 2021 so far. But No Time to Die, I saw this movie a few weeks ago with my mother. She visited me for homecoming, and I liked it better than Spectre, the last James Bond film, but not as much as Casino Royale or Skyfall. And I think I understand why they're ending the Daniel Craig era of Bond, but like, this is the first time they ever legitimately killed James Bond in any James Bond movie, and I have very mixed feelings towards this decision. I mean, the whole point is that they killed off James Bond. At the end of the movie, he like calls all the missiles and rockets, and they kind of like obliterate the island he's standing on, and then like we just watch him go up in smoke. And they're gonna replace him with the new girl. I think her name is Nomi, if my memory is correct. There's nothing wrong with the character. Personally, I have very, she was decent. I mean, we don't get to see too much of her in this film, but, man, she kicks a lot of butt, and, she does have a nice dynamic with, James Bond, but is she able to carry a franchise, though? Because James Bond is arguably the most iconic film character of all time, and there are just some things you just don't replace, and they're doing that with James Bond. This reminds me of when they had Spinosaurus kill the T-Rex in Jurassic Park 3. We all love the T-Rex so much. It's like one of the most iconic like movie monsters of all time, and yet like they wanted to have Spinosaurus kill the T-Rex in that movie because Jack Horner, paleontologist, like the T-Rex is just a scavenger. That's all right for another day. But yeah, I mean, again, No Time to Die was a pretty decent movie. I mean, again, I understand like James Bond has like had enough of making like Daniel Craig, excuse me, has had enough of playing as James Bond, but to kill him off, I still really don't know if that was the right decision or not. And yeah, for the rest of this video, I want to talk about the Suicide Squad. This is not only, like I said, not just my favorite film as of now of 2021, but this is hands down the best DCEU movie, in my opinion at least. And James Gunn really nailed this like quasi sequel, like follow up to 2016 Suicide Squad, a film that I still like despite all the backlash that it's received over the years. But like when I heard that he was making another Suicide Squad movie, I was like cautiously excited. Then as the news came out and the trailers and the casting, all my worries went out the door, especially when I heard they were making it rated R, because yes, they're making it more faithful to the comics. I read the New 52 for Suicide Squad before the first movie came out, and that got very like graphic and like anarchistic and just chaotic, and I was like, yes, they're going for that tone, and I'm very excited to see that. And just I had my worries going into it, but they all went out the window very quickly. I assumed that like Robert Dubois, like Bloodsport, was just gonna be like a discount Deadshot played by Idris Elba, but no, Idris Elba really nails all the performances in the Suicide Squad were so great. Like John Cena plays a convincing villain with Peacemaker because he wants to because Rick Flag wants to send the freaking the microchip to the public, so proving that the U.S. government was behind Project Starfish, but Peacemaker is like no, and then kills Rick Flag. And I was not too excited about Rick Flag returning for the Suicide Squad, because all he like in the last film, he was just like a glorified babysitter. Like all he does is just like spout out exposition, and he wasn't that compelling. But no, Rick Flag was actually one of the most compelling characters in the entire movie. Joel Kinnaman brought it home with his performance. So did Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. Oh my gosh, like Amanda Waller is a character like I hate to love because she's so ruthless in what she does. She's honestly a bigger villain than these like so-called super villains that are like members of Task Force X, and she like really just the performance is so convincing. And the ending when the squad decides to defy her orders and just like go after Starro, and she's just like screaming like oh, and just over the like threatening to blow them all up with the buttons. Whenever she's on screen, you can't take your eyes off of her. And I was kind of shocked with there's a lot of like decisions they made throughout this film that I was very surprised by, but ultimately I think benefited the narrative. At first I was disappointed that at the start when they're on the beach and like everyone's just massacred, like Boomerang for example. I was disappointed they killed off Boomerang so quickly because he's the only Jack Courtney character that I like. I mean, Jack Courtney was like such a meme a few years ago. Like he was just everywhere in Hollywood. We all got sick of him. But like he was actually really good in the 2016 film, and I was excited to see him again. Like he seems smiling at Harley before he's like obliterated by that falling helicopter, and everyone's just massacred. Again, there's a lot of like Savant, like he was played by Michael Rooker. I don't get it. Like, what is it with James Gunn having like Michael Rooker in like all his movies and just like wasting him? Because he was also in the Belko Experiment that came out back in 2017, and he was totally wasted in that film as well. Like they just killed him off like 30 minutes in. But it's like, this is Michael Rooker, like use him, James Gunn. But you know what, I understand why they did this, because the filmmakers want us to know like how truly disposable the Suicide Squad is to Amanda Waller and the adversaries that they're up against. And it makes it I've seen a lot of YouTube videos covering this. It's very poetic how Ratcatcher 2 uses rats to save the day, because the Suicide Squad are like the rats, quote unquote, of the DC universe. Like they're the lowliest, most despised people in society, and yet they're the ones that like end up saving the day. because rats are actually very cute and intelligent and are important to ecosystems in more ways than people realize. Like, yeah, they do carry diseases, but they're very underappreciated and they make really great pets. But yeah, that's a tangent for another day. And I loved how everyone bounced off each other. Like Polka Dot Man, it was like satisfying to see him die happy, but also heartbreaking. Was like yelling, "I'm a superhero!" And then like Starro just like squashes him. And King Shark, I was probably the most excited for Nanawe, aka King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone. He's just a big, like, fishy ball of joy that rips people and like devours like people, and I feel so bad for him, especially that scene when like the rest of the squad is out like partying in the Cornell Maltese nightclub and he's just sitting all by himself in the van just like sobbing. It's like I said, these are supposed to be super villains, but they're more relatable than like I relate to them better than I do to like Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman, basically all the heroes in the DC universe. And I gotta say, the most compelling character in the entire movie is Ratcatcher 2. Like, she's an instant icon and probably my new favorite like female DCEU character. Oh, I forgot to mention Harley Quinn. That once, like I said, this film subverted my expectations. When Harley Quinn meets like that prince guy from Cornel Maltese who wants to like marry her and like do all these like villainous things with her, I was honestly afraid for a split second that Harley was gonna join him and become like the main antagonist for the rest of the movie, but nope, she pulls out a revolver and like shoots him in the chest and like talks about like how bad her taste in men is. And I was like, when I saw this movie in the theater, I started clapping. I was like, "Yay, good on you, Harley!" And then like that scene where she escapes from the building with the javelin, just like annihilates all those dudes, and there's like cartoon butterflies and flowers. I'm like, this is so Harley. Like, does it really get more Harley Quinn than this? But yeah, back to Ratcatcher 2. Daniela Melchior, the Portuguese actress who plays Ratcatcher 2, I need to see more of her in future films. Like, honestly, I think they should give Ratcatcher 2 and King Shark like a buddy cop comedy series instead of a Peacemaker series on HBO Max. I would so watch that because not only is the actress completely stunning, but it's just, she's really not a villain. Like, she has her morals in the right place, and also Taika Waititi has a very like welcoming cameo as Ratcatcher 1, and I feel so bad for her because her father died of a heroin overdose, and yet instead of just like bashing him for using drugs, like she tearfully says like his burdens became too heavy to carry because she doesn't want to think badly on her father. And I love the relationship that she makes with Bloodsport. It is kind of like a father and daughter sort of connection that they form. And that's the thing. This movie shows, while 2016 Suicide Squad tells. It's like the characters. Like, I remember when Diablo passed away, like when Diablo like sacrifices himself at the end of the first film, he says like, "Oh, I lost one family, I'm not gonna lose another." Wait, this is your family, dude? Like, you just met these people a few days ago. It doesn't really feel like a family. But like just the actions between Bloodsport, Polka Dot Man, Ratcatcher, King Shark, and Harley and the other like members of the squad, the connection just feels way more genuine in the movie. The characters, that script doesn't need to tell us like about how much they care for each other. Instead, it just do. And like I said, the ending when they just say like, "Oh, forget like Waller's orders, we're just gonna like save the Starro." Starro is probably the biggest victim in the entire movie because I felt bad for him too. Like, Starro reminds me of 2019's Joker in a weird sense, where like he's maybe like a super villain, but he's not some like mad dog that decided to just like go around biting people. He was the dog that was bit first and decided to bite back. Because like tying it back to Joker, remember like in the Joker movie, like Joker only, or Arthur Fleck, he only kills people who like everyone that he kills himself are those who did something to hurt him first, like the subway guys who like attacked him like when he was for his like laughing condition. He pulls out a revolver and shoots him. Star's like that too because he breaks free from the prison after being brutally tortured for 30 years. He sees all the soldiers, like the Coral Maltese soldiers, and he doesn't even like attack the soldiers until they start shooting at him. Then he like unleashes his wrath. I'm not saying I condone his rampage on the innocent civilians who did nothing to hurt him, but I understand where he's coming from. And yeah, I'm happy, like, and it's good that the squad took him down because he was going to destroy Coral Maltese. and then go for America next, which is why like Waller was being stupid when she said like, "Oh, this isn't our problem. Like if you destroyed Jotunheim and the records within, you've completed the mission." It's like, Miss Waller, if you do realize that after Star was done wrecking Colonel Maltese, he'll go for other countries next. Then it's gonna be our problem. But yeah, I mean, having someone shove like Hartley shoving a javelin through his eyeball, and then Ratcatcher sending a bunch of rats to eat him from the inside out. That is like a horrible way to go, and it's honestly like depressing. Hearing him like through one of his pawns saying like, "Oh, I was happy just looking at the stars." See, Star's not a monster. He's just a giant alien space Patrick. And yeah, like him and Black Manta are like the only two DCU like villains that I like. I don't get like why DCU is like not very good at their villains. And I know they're not like super concerned about continuity anymore, but I really want to see like more of this squad in future installments because, like I said, this is like my favorite DCU film. They should totally stick with like films like this. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I want to apologize for the inconsistent uploads like within the past few months. I feel like I've been doing this a lot lately, but I'm taking one of my biology classes ends this Friday. We have our final exam this coming Friday. And then after that, like it's a 2 credit class. It's only for 10 weeks. Once that's over, my schedule is probably going to be a lot more flexible for the rest of my semester. So I'm still going to be busy with, other classes and my part-time job and, finding stuff to do after I graduate. But I'm pretty sure I'll have more time for making videos after that's out of the way. And thank you so much for getting my YouTube channel 400,000 views. Like, we made it to 400,000 views like a few weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, I want to say, and that means the world to me. Like, I was hoping we could hit that goal by like New Year's Eve, and it's not even November, and we've done it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe, and I hope you had a lovely Spooktober. I hope you guys had a nice Halloween, and that November treats you all better. And yeah, stay beastly.